Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Coffee with Casey. This is the next generation of real estate, and we're getting off to a little bumpy start, but we'll get used to it. We'll get over the technical glitches. So today's going to be a very important show. We've got a lot of things to talk about. You know, it's funny. I was looking behind me, and there's a picture of a book that I wrote, and on the bottom of it, it says, "It's what you know. It's what you learn after you know it all." And in the last 3 weeks, we've learned more than probably the first 30 years of being in real estate. So it's been an amazing 3 weeks. We're going to share that with you. So today we're going to bring in Billy Samson, who's one of our key team members. We're going to bring in Mike Filan, who's our lender from First Heritage. We're going to look at a snapshot of the virus in our area. So our market area is Arlington County, Fairfax County, Loudoun County, Prince William County. I know what's going on around the world. Let's talk about what's going on in our county, how it's affecting us, what the safety protocol is that we've put in place, because it turns out we are essential personnel. So real estate, we never knew that, is essential. So we're doing our part and putting in a safety protocol that, you know, this safety protocol is very important because we want to keep our sellers and our buyers and our realtors safe. So we're going to look at our economy around here. How is it going to be affected? What does our, employers, how are they going to be affected by this? Then we're going to talk about how the real estate market is changing and how has it changed? What are buyers and sellers doing? Can you still sell? Can you still buy? We'll get all that put together. And we're going to talk about those charts. And then the mind-blowing newest thing of all time. And I'm going to, credit some people with this. When a crisis happens, you're surrounded by people, and how they react and what they do and how they respond sometimes can be incredible. And I've always said, well, you take the old people, you put them together with the new people, and the old experienced people, and then you've got the these young brilliant minds. But it really showed this last couple of weeks. So Morgan refused to let me go to any more listing appointments, and my daughter and Michelle, who's brilliant with Zoom and knows all the technology and all that. So we put together the online presentations for sellers, which went off without a hitch. They were wonderful. So, we really had an incredible experience, an incredible experience with how it saved our time, how much clearer it made our listing presentations, how much beneficial it was to the seller. It was really extremely powerful. So we're going to share all that with you today. And we're going to talk about some new opportunities. So let's get started with all that good stuff. I want to welcome Billy Samson, who you see up there, I hope, and Mike Filan, who you see up in the upper right-hand corner. Behind that, Samson Marketing is the guru around here, which is Ethan Harris, who has done a wonderful job with Samson Properties and kind of oversees a lot of this stuff. So let's start with the virus itself. Now, this is a deadly son of a gun. This is very serious. This is nothing to turn our heads on. We are staying home. We are practicing social distancing. We're doing everything we're told times 5. I'm 62 years old. I have asthma. I don't want to die. I'm good. You want me to wash my hands? I'll wash my hands. You want me to wear gloves? I'll wash gloves. Stay home and watch American Pickers? I'll stay home and watch American Pickers. I'm all good with that. So, but what I am is I'm an analyst. I mean, basically, I'm an analyst. So let me get rid of this, and let's just take a look at where we are. Let's take a look at where we are. Now, I'm going to ask Billy and Mike, can you see the presentation? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So what everybody's seeing on Facebook is you have the people that are authenticating data are on the same screen with the data itself. So the combination of these two allow for a presentation that is really incredible. So whether you're a seller sitting at home and you're looking at pricing models and marketing strategies, or we're trying to get some thoughts across to a larger audience, this is a very, very powerful tool. So let's first take a look at the virus. And again, I'm a numbers guy, and I am not saying that this is not a serious virus, and it's changing dynamically the way we do things. But in Arlington, I look at population, how many cases do they have, how many deaths have they had, what the cases the cases are, you know, for every case, it's one case in every 1,000 in Arlington. And on average, between Prince William, Fairfax County, and Loudoun County, we've got 2.2 million people, 1,214 cases of the virus, 6 deaths. Now, statistics don't mean anything if you're one of the 6. And it's extremely serious what's going on. So don't take this chart as saying it's minimalizing what kind of safety risks we are at. But I mean, Mike has a daughter that you know has immune problems. She can't be exposed to anything. I can't be exposed to anything. You know, really. I mean, Morgan has her thing. So we got to be really, really careful about this. But compared to New York, compared to Detroit, compared to Chicago, compared to LA, compared to some of the other areas of the country, the Northern Virginia market, our exposure to the virus because of social distancing, maybe we caught it early, maybe we got our social distancing in before it hit our area, before it got too out of hand. But it seems that at this point, which is April the 9th, 2020, these are the exact stats I have to deal with. And let me just bring another thing up. You will hear on all of the briefings the term modeling. So they're saying we're modeling. We're modeling. If this is the input data, what does the output data tell us? Well, we've been modeling, price modeling. That's exactly what we do and how we have been doing for years and years and years, really since Billy really got in with me. We model our prices for our houses. So you know, this is the statistical data that we're using or that we have for the coronavirus. And then when we look at, you know, what we're doing to make sure that the safety protocol, the social distancing, we can't stop, you know, we can't just stop because we're not, you know, as infected as some other areas. We take it extremely serious. So our original safety protocol was no weapons, you know, our prescription drugs are out of sight, our jewelry is out of sight, our locked away, our small electronics is out. So we have a safety protocol. But due to the virus, it's expanded, and I think all realtors are expanding to this, is we're not doing open houses because that would bring too many people into the house. We don't allow people to wear shoes in there, not sure what they're tracking into the house. We wear gloves. We have gloves at every one of our listings. If they need to put on gloves, please put on the gloves. It's part of our safety protocol. There's no more than 3 people allowed in the house at one time. Our wife, you know, the 2 buyers, and their realtor. Children are not invited in the house. I've never met a kid that's made a buying decision on a house. Now they may say, I like the bedroom, I like this house.
Yeah, they pick their rooms.
Yeah, they could go pick a room, but there are going to be no children in that house. And the reason is because they touch everything. They're going to touch everything. And I love children, but they're carriers, man. They you know, one kid gets sick in a class, the whole class is sick, and then before you know it, they're bringing it home. So
it's like us with our football team, right? One kid gets sick and then the whole team's sick.
That's right. No more shaking hands, just elbow bumps, and that's it. So basically what we've done is we've turned our homes into no touch listings. So you just can't touch anything in the house. We're turning on all the lights. We're leaving all the interior doors open. You can do a visual inspection. Now, let me be very clear on this. A lot of people are talking about, oh, you need to do visual tours, you need to do visual open house, you need to do virtual, all this other stuff. Let me make this very, very clear. Nobody's going to buy a house unless they can do a visual inspection of the house. They need to see the space, feature, function, layout, the way the whole house works, the upgrades of the house. So, you know, I know everybody's saying, well, let me see the virtual tour. And we're going to talk about that here in a few minutes. But a tour is done by a buyer, you know, a buyer with their realtor in the house, literally walking through that house.
And this weekend, Case, just boots on the ground. I was out with a couple different groups of buyers. You know, it's still very active out there. The overall traffic might be down, but the interested parties that go in are still writing contracts. So I was out with 3 different groups. You know, we didn't touch anything. We were wearing gloves. We had booties on. Some listings, you know, we were taking our shoes off, but no one's touching anything. There's no overlapping appointments, so we're not in there with other people. At the vacant houses, you know, there's all the lights are on and there's no furniture. The ones that were furnished, you know, we were just, you know, had gloves on. No one was touching anything. So people are still out looking for homes. You know, real estate market by traffic, you know, and I know you're going to get to our, you know, our current market update, but I just wanted to let you guys know that, you know, we battled against 7 other contracts and won at one property, and on another property, we were the winning contract out of 3. So things are still moving. You know, we're being very safe out there. We're not touching things, but like you said, I mean, it's very important that that the, you know, gloves are on and no shoes and no overlapping appointments. You know, we're not coming in contact with other buyers.
So we're going to go over from the safety standpoint. Then we're going to touch on, you know, the market, and I've got Mike here. It's very important what's going on in the mortgage market right this second. We had to take some corrective action. You know, we had a missile coming at us this week. We took corrective action and saved a deal, but we need to talk about the mortgage market and the real estate market. The first thing I want to go to, though, is I want to just look at our area and its insulation to a recession or depression. And, you know, it's funny. We've always said, you know, if your neighbor loses their job, it's a recession. And if you lose your job, it's a depression, which is true. So, you know, but what is our real exposure to all of this? Is the real estate community getting punched in the face? Is the mortgage banking community getting harmed? What is the harm? So let's look at our top employers in this area. And basically our economy is based on, you got Booz Allen, Inova, Northrop Grumman, Deloitte. So you have, you know, government contractors, major healthcare providers, consultants. I mean, Leidos does just cleared for billions of dollars of contracts. I know they were in dispute, and they've just been cleared for billions of dollars of contracts. Good for our area. George Mason University is still a major employer and growing like a weed. So these don't even take into account the top 2, which I think are most affecting, is Amazon has come in and they've started their employment building. And with that, they brought in other different, they brought in Apple, they bring in Microsoft. So a lot of people are trying to be around them. The contractors, people that work with Amazon. And of course, Capital One is building a 470-foot headquarters in Tyson's Corner.
Yeah,
so,
I'm surprised Capital One's not on the top 10. I would have thought that, well, I guess they will as their building becomes complete. Also, this doesn't take into account, Case, the federal government in D.C. that, you know, everyone knows someone that works for the government, you know, the State Department, Defense. So that's, you know, that's a huge employer as well. And the government's not going to be letting people go. So that's still there in D.C. and Arlington.
Have a very stable base, very stable base.
So, you know, I'm doing this from an analytical side. I'm saying that our exposure is what it is. Our social distancing has got to stay in place. Our security measures for our safety protocols are in place, and it seems like everybody's following them. So, you know, what is our exposure to the virus? And once we get back open, are we going to be back open, or are we in for a long, hard road? I do not want to be overly optimistic, but in analyzing facts, these are the facts. So we'll see what goes on from there. And now I want to head over to the real estate market and to the mortgage market to find out how it's playing out in all of this. So first of all, are people putting their houses back on the market? Well, in, you know, those 4 counties that I mentioned, Arlington, Fairfax, Loudoun, and Prince William, last year at this time in March, 1,880 houses were put on the market. This year, 1,796 houses were put on the market. So it's down about 4.5%. So are people a little you know, less willing to put their house on the market because there may be some kind of a safety risk? Absolutely. Then I look at when a house goes on the market, Billy, we had about 6 examples this weekend where you had buyers that were going after houses. We had listings that were launching, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, 4 out of 6 are under contract, and 5 out of 6 could potentially be under contract by the end of the day. So what I look at is that buyer pool still ready, willing, and able to go after those homes once they hit on the market? So last year, 1,032 homes went under contract in their first 10 days. This year, 881. Is it a lot? Yes. Is it as much as last year? No. So, but I think we can tell you this. I think this is what we've surmised for the week from this weekend. There's not as many people out there, but the people that are out there are buying the house. So for every 3 people, or for every 6 people that walk in, you're going to get 3 contracts. So if the home is well priced, well prepared, then the house is going under contract. Okay. And we're going to talk about how we can use predictive analysis to tell a seller before you even go on the market, is this going to sell or is it not going to sell? But let's continue on looking at the real estate market right now. And this is the homes going on the market. These are the homes that went under contract in the first 10 days. So last year, Fairfax County, 54% of the homes went under contract in the first 10 days. Now it's 50. Okay. Well, in Loudoun County, it was 59. Now it's 51. So these are all pretty big numbers. I mean, other than Arlington, which is taking a little bit of a dip, you know, and I think Arlington is, and again, we've had this discussion before, Arlington is denser than some of the less populated areas. So I think that has a more impactful thought of the buyers going out and doing any interactions. So I think that may have more to do with it than anything. But if we look at this, still healthy, yeah. And it's funny. I'm going to go personal here. Just one second. I had a friend of mine, and he was very serious cancer, and his wife asked me to go to the doctor with him because he didn't want to ask the doctor any questions. And I said, well, so I finally came out and I said, hey doc, what are our chances here? You know? And he said, I gave you 50-50. And I looked at him and I said, yeah, we'll take that. We could take that. No problem. Didn't scare a bit. And I'll tell you why. Because we don't want to be in the 50%. We're in the 1%. We're in the 2%. We want to win, and we want to win every time. So we're not looking to position ourselves as what is the rest of the crowd doing. We're going to win. We're going to sell, and we're going to be in the top 1 or 2 or 3%, not in the top 50%. So with all honesty, without trying to make him feel better, it's like, yeah, we can take that. Yeah, because we're in the 1 or 2%. We're not on the 50 percentile. So that's just the mentality that you kind of have to have is, 50% going, well, ours is definitely going to be one of the 50% that goes under contract. So, but as an overall market, everything seems to be not as big as it was, but certainly stable. Now, this is an indicator that I look at that tells you whether you're in a buyer's market or a seller's market. So this chart says, by the way, again, a Zoom presentation is pretty powerful because you can bring up charts and graphs that otherwise would be very difficult to show people from a normal presentation. That's why these listing presentations are so powerful. So we're looking at Fairfax County. 53% of the houses on the market in Fairfax County are under contracts. What does that tell you? At 33%, we are at a neutral market. Anything over 33%, we are in a seller's market. When you get to 50%, you're dead on the seller's market because, again, some houses are poorly priced, not staged well, and aren't going to sell. But 53% is a big number to be under contract. 50.
And that's the percentage of homes that become active that go under contract, Case?
Yes. These are, so 53% of the homes on the market in Fairfax County are under contract. And 59% of the homes in Loudoun County are under contract. So what that tells me is, and what this says, it is still a seller's market. It's just a seller's market. Now, Billy, you as a buyer, and going out with buyers, instead of competing with 10, 12, 15 contracts, you're competing with 3, 4, or 5. So
Yeah.
is it
So we
better
actually,
for buyers?
yeah, I mean, we've seen, you know, like I said before, we saw a slight dip in traffic, but you know, the contracts are still coming in. I was out with Cameron and Kelly, and we put a contract in, and they won a contract at a contract price that, you know, we think that if COVID hadn't happened, they might not have been able to buy the home, because, you know, there's still contracts out there, but it's not as hyper active as it was in February and March. So you know, there are some. It slowed down just a hair, but I mean, we were still competing with 8 contracts. So I think, you know, that it's a good time for buyers if you guys are very serious. I mean, I'm taking 2 people out today, 2 different groups out here today. So if you are serious, you know, it's definitely a good time to jump in. It's not as hyperactive as it was and hyper competitive as it was before.
Just be careful. Just be careful. Practice good safety protocol. You know,
yeah, of course.
Bring gloves. Don't wear shoes. Don't touch anything. You can
Yeah,
do
we
your
had
visual inspection.
hand sanitizer with us. So, you know, we're using that after we leave each property. So yeah, I mean, you know, we have to be safe. We have to practice social distancing. But yeah, I mean, the market's still moving.
Billy, are you finding that when you go into all these houses, are they practicing the safety protocol? Do they have all doors open, all lights on, no touch listings?
Yeah, and a couple of the houses that we went into actually had a COVID addendum that we had to sign before showing the home. You know, that we hadn't shown any symptoms. We weren't around anyone that, you know, had been in from outside the country in the last 90 days. You know, that we wouldn't touch anything. So there's addendums that brokers are using now, you know, that are just being very cautious that, you know, you're not bringing any.
I agree with them. I think that, you know, that just makes good sense, you know. But I will say this, that for the sellers, by only having 6 or 8 people in your house and not letting them touch anything, that we can pretty easily get a listing out, launch it, get everybody online and take a look at it. So
yeah, another thing that that one listing is doing that Mike actually helped me with last night is they actually want to see your pre-approval letter before you even go in the house, you know, just to make sure that you are, you know, very serious, not just letting anyone in the home. That, you know, it's another way that, you know, people are practicing the safety protocol.
And to be honest with you, Billy, any realtor that has a buyer in their car that doesn't have a pre-approval letter shouldn't be showing them listings. I mean, that's the first thing. Any one of our buyers goes and sees Mike Filan before they talk to us about buying a house. So let's switch over now. Let's talk about the mortgage market, because this has a huge impact on real estate. So currently, our stats are showing that homes are going on the market. They're getting sold relatively the same, if a little bit less, but about the same speed. Now let's talk about the financing. What changes have there been in financing in the last 2-3 weeks?
Sure. Well, some of the things have been tightening up just a little bit. I mean, there have been additional precautions that are being taken by lenders, you know, to make sure, for example, that somebody is still employed. The verification of employments have moved from being 10 days before closing to being 3 days before closing now. You know, for most of the loan programs, they're still functioning as they were before. There are some tightening of guidelines just slightly in debt ratios on some programs, or minimum credit scores on a couple of programs have raised slightly.
Government loans, FHA and VA have the lowest credit ratings been increased?
They have. Yeah, so for most of those, it's kind of gone up from like a 620 credit score to a 640. But overall, everything is functioning well.
Okay, all right. Now,
and also to touch on what Billy was saying earlier, with people still being out there buying, just in the last 2 weeks, I've really gotten a lot of phone calls from people that have been on the sidelines for a little while and are seeing this as a great opportunity, with rates being as low as they are, and maybe not having to compete with as many people for a contract. There seem to be a lot of buyers that are starting to come out of the woodwork.
Right. Let's touch on one other thing with the financing this week. So we had a settlement, and our buyer owned a bunch of restaurants. And obviously the restaurants have been shuttered. So the lender would not allow him to buy the house. They turned down the financing. So this is more alternative financing, right, Mike? That now there are different programs, maybe in very flexible times, you can whip them into another program, but there were no programs for this person. I'll talk about how we handled it in a minute. Where do you see the alt financing programs right now? Have they been wiped out? Are they just waiting for guidelines? I mean, are we in just a 1-month sabbatical of alternative financing programs?
A lot of them have been put on pause, really. I think there's certainly a concern as to make sure that people have continuous employment and they have continuous income coming in.
Right.
For somebody that has restaurants, or for somebody like a hairdresser or something that might not be working right now, there is increased concern for those type of people being able to purchase a property.
Now, if you're under contract and you're getting ready to go to settlement, and you have a person that owns restaurants or retail stores that have been shut down and they've been furloughed or laid off, and it's only a temporary issue, there is an alternative that you can go to. And we just pulled one off on one of our listings. So once the lender refused the financing for the buyer, the sellers were in a position where the sellers could hold the first trust on the property. So we're still going to settlement, but instead of the bank being the first trust lender, the sellers are the first trust lenders, and they're just holding the paper. Now, what does that mean for them? They have a secure document against the property. They have a promissory note and a deed of trust. They'll receive monthly income for the principal that they've not received yet. So instead of taking cash, putting it in the bank and getting 1% or 0.5%, they're getting 4% for their money, and they'll get monthly payments. So this seller-held financing on the time of low interest rates and flexible financing is not something that anybody's had to turn to. I mean, this is a 1980s and 1990s thing. But if we need to make a deal work, if we need to make it happen, these first trusts are only going to be temporary. As soon as his restaurants are up or going, he can refinance them out and pay them off. But to get him in the house that he and his wife want, his family want, to get the sellers out of the house that they wanted to sell and moving on with their life and having an income stream because now they're retiring. So it was really a win-win for all parties, and it's something you should consider. I can't get involved in everybody's deals, but I can certainly put you in touch with attorneys and people and settlement companies. Cardinal Title is helping us prepare the deed of trust and the promissory note, but fairly simple process to do of having them hold the note. In fact, no offense, Mike, but it's easier paperwork when you have a seller holding a note. There's just
absolutely.
We don't have a stack of papers for the lender, right, because you guys have to sell it, but they're actually going to hold it. So, sure. So anyways, seller held mortgages, whether it's a second trust behind a first trust or the whole first trust, there are people that have a lot of cash. They're out of the stock market. They're parking it. They wouldn't mind parking it somewhere for a few months or years. So anyways, that kind of stuff is out here. So let's now go to the biggest, I think, epiphany, game changer, seismic turnaround of the real estate community. And that is doing things like we're doing right now on Zoom. Well, if you look at charts and graphs like this, and you did a pricing strategy and marketing plan online with a seller, where you can go over the charts and graphs, you can talk about the agent's track records, because let me tell you, everyone, at least that I go in and talk to, is going to talk to at least 3 realtors, which is what I advise that they do. And each one should really show their track record. How many houses have I listed? How many are under contract? I mean, 23 out of 26 of our houses are under contract or sold. So bring it on. If we're going to list it, we're going to sell it. So, but the key here, the key really is getting the correct price on a house. And that is very, very difficult. I have yet to see a lot of sellers that don't think their house is worth 5% more, 7% more. They've seen neighbors' houses go on the market and sell. So they may not have a realistic expectation the price of the house. So watch this for just 1 second. I'm not going to get too deep into this, but this is a pricing model. This is the summary of a pricing model that every seller can look at. And this seller was on the market, I'm going to admit it, was for 1.399. So I did a pricing model. Up here are defining characteristics of the house. Assessments, age, size. These are the things that you're rated on, lot size. Down here was what elementary school is it in? What is the radius? What is the price range that you guys, the threshold, the competition? So if we look at it and say, well, everybody that's competing is between 1.2 and 1.4. So let's take those houses in that school district within 160 days back, and let's compare those houses. So the models that you see them talking about with the coronavirus are going anywhere from 60,000 deaths to 240,000 deaths. What that means is garbage in, garbage out. Whatever you put in, the model will tell you anything. So you need to be extremely strict on what the data input is for your model. So if you just restrict the houses in a certain price range in a certain market, and we know how many are active, we know how many are under contract, you've seen the charts. So now we can look at this and clearly delineate that based on those comps in this region, that house worth 1.284 million. And that if we look at the houses that are currently under contract and assume they sell based on their days on market, what they sell for, we can tell you that if you compare it to the under contracts, you're worth 1.294 million. So what does that tell everybody? You're under 1.3. Now, when you take that into account, that if you were to price a house under 1.3 versus a house over 1.3 at 1.325, the market under the 1.3 is this big. The market over 1.3 is this big. So for this seller, should he go over $1.3 million, he's going to lose 80% of his market. So this is extremely important that we can sit down, go over the numbers, bring up actual worksheets, and have him say, well, I've got my friend sold a house at such and such. I can do it right in front of him. So we can analyze houses. I mean, basically we are analysts. So this tells us where the price should be. So now the seller and I and Billy and everybody, we all know. And the power of this document is when somebody comes in, if they were to offer us 1.25 million, we show them the document and say that the house is worth 1.294 million. So I can tell you exactly what this house is worth. And most realtors and most buyers don't do that kind of analyzation of what is the true value of the house. So just real quick, one time we had a 1.499 and they offered 1.425. We're not going to counter. We just kept sending them our pricing documents, sending them price. Before you know it, they're back up to 1.485 is what we finally settled on. We never countered them, and the seller would have gladly taken 1.45. So by just showing the pricing models, that document right there. Now, imagine you see Billy and Mike Filan over here. Imagine if that was the selling agent and I was walking this document through to the selling agent and explaining to them why the house is what it's worth. So the effectiveness of this Zoom technology and presenting online is massive. Now I'm going to go back for 1 second and say that number is a customary number. Yeah. Just what is a customary house? Now, Billy, Morgan, Kelly, Colby, Pam, Pat, all of it. Kelly, did I say Kelly? I got 6. So one of the 6 top producers that have gone through hundreds of listing appointments with me then need to visit the house and do a visual inspection.
Yeah, and like you're saying, Case, that's just a customary number. So, master bath, kitchen, if they have a superior lot, if they put 400 grand into their backyard, then we can adjust off of the customary number from there. But And it's, you know, it's important for you know, me or one of our alt agents to visually inspect it, because like you said, you have to be inside the house and see how it's laid out, see how it flows, and then also to adjust up and down off the customary number.
Right, right. So, you know, then what we do is we're really good at saying, look, here's everybody's home is set up as a traditional home, but the style that the buyers want are transitional. So we have, as we're in the house, can go over the 10 items they could do to that house that cost them nothing, that would transition them over. And we can go over certain things they may need on, there's 10 or 12 things you can do, that paint or hardware or plumbing fixtures or lighting fixtures or carpets, that for every dollar you invest, you get $6 back. So today's buyers, when we talk about being in that top 50%, yeah, we want to be, if you go to 8 houses, you're going to buy our house because we are ready for you. We're priced correctly. We have everything done in that house. The to-do list has been done. We've done our final pricing, market conditions, and we're ready to go. So we're not there to be one of the 50%. We're there to be, you know, sold. And we want people bidding for that house. We want the prices to go up. So this virtual listing appointment is extremely powerful in that it only takes me a half hour to do what I need to do. And instead of driving to a house, sitting for an hour and a half, driving back, preparing, getting ready, all of, you know, so for 4 hours of time it would take me, I can get it done in about 45 minutes. So this allows for other things, but let's stay on this virtual listing appointment because there's much more than just the pricing strategy, although it's very, very critical. So the next is the marketing, and I want to show you something that's very powerful. You're going to hear with the coronavirus, everybody's online and virtual tours, and virtual open house, and virtual listing, blah, 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 blah. So let me be extremely clear on this. Nobody's going to buy a house unless they walk in the house and do a visual inspection of the house. They need to walk and see the space, feature, function. Do the couches fit? Are we going to fit? You know, where does the lot sit? Where is this thing going to be? How does the lot look? They're never going to buy that house unless they walk into it visually inspected, period. I've never had anybody. So the job is getting them into the house. Now, if somebody's looking in the right price range in the school districts and trust me, they're going to walk in your house. It does need to be presented online properly. A lot of our buyers are coming from Arlington. They're coming from DC. They work in DC. So they're sitting in their office saying, is it worth it driving 45 minutes to go see this house? So let's talk about, I just want to show you one thing before we go. When people talk about virtual tours, well, as a professional, we've analyzed virtual tours. We've analyzed movies. We've analyzed 3D, models, and is that the way to go? And yeah, we've tested them, and we've tested each one of those. A movie's pictures are terrible. They're awful, and the pictures are, in the 3D models, we found that, first of all, let's go to the movie. In the movie, they move too slow. The buyers really want to see the kitchen, the backyard. They want to see the master bedroom, bathroom. They want to see a few things. I mean, they want to see the rec room. They're not interested in the, they get bored. So we found that people who were watching movies only lasted 15 seconds. So I went and tested a movie. I wanted to see somebody's house. And I went on to look at it. I never even got in the house. I was so bored by the time that, so I pulled it off. So we have found that those only last 15 seconds and they are not the right thing to do. Then we went to the 3D models. I did it for 6 or 8 months and we watched that. They can't figure out how it works and they get frustrated and walk away, where they can't get the perspective of how things is. It's very cool technology. The sellers love it, but buyers stay on it for 15 seconds maximum. So that was out. So what we did was we went to really out and design these beautiful custom websites. But let me just show you the most important thing. See this foyer? Can you see the floors and how sharp that is? That's what it looks like poorly photographed. Now, This is one of the biggest agents in the area. Had this home was withdrawn that they had. So I took their pictures and compared it to the pictures that we have. Now, so we spend strict attention to the kind of photography you do. And look at the difference. I hope on Facebook you can see this. If you can't, when a seller sits down with me, they get it. So the other one is this. You look out the windows and you see trees. And you see beautiful hardwood floors. You see sharp lines and bright colors. That's what it looked like before. So when Morgan and I were getting ready to go in the house, Morgan looked at the pictures and said, this house is dated. This house is not good looking at all. It's dated. It wasn't that it was dated. It was the pictures look like this instead of like that. So pictures are the most important thing. Then when you get there, we do, and I'm not going to go to the thing, but you can go to any one of our listings, www.11623verna.com. And each one of these houses can be seen online. Well, we found that people online look at those for a good, 4 minutes. Well, that's an eternity in internet land, and it did drive traffic. So we determined that the virtual tours, the movies, and the 3D models could not hold the attention of the buyers long enough. But when you go to a website, that you can actually see all the pictures of the house and the descriptions and the key features, the hot sheet of the house, all the important items of the house. So this to me was more important than that. And this has proven to hold them. So we've taken online, we've taken our online presentation extremely serious. And I don't want everybody to get caught up in the backwash of now everybody's got to go online. Before the virus, everybody went online. 95% of your buyers are online. So this is the proper way, to present the house online and don't fall for the rest of it. So really what that means, one of the opportunities that we have here is that now, if it takes me 4 hours to get something done, I can only do so many. But if the most powerful presentation can be done online on a virtual listing, well, a seller can do this multiple times. I mean, if you don't have to spend an hour and a half with every realtor, if you only have to spend a half hour with every realtor, you can interview 4 realtors, not 1, 4 realtors. Not only 4 realtors, but you can get a much clearer understanding from their presentation online than you can with them sitting in front of your face. Then you can determine who would you like to invite to your house. Then you can invite someone to your house. But, when you do listing presentations, I think it's tough to have a realtor walk in your house and have to sit there and listen to them for an hour and a half, tell you how great their company is, which companies don't sell real estate, agents sell real estate. So all you really want to know is, what's my pricing strategy? What's my marketing plan? And let's go from there. So, I don't want to skip out on this one thing. I'm going to go back here real quick. I want to go back to another one of the really big deals of this virtual world that we're living in. So I can predict before we launch a house, whether the house is going to sell and how many contracts it's going to have. And we don't need to know that after the house is already launched. We need that information during the coming soon period. Okay. So let me explain. We have 3 targets. We have renters, we have buyers online, and we have realtors and their clients. Okay. So if we do a massive amount of coming soon marketing, and we can read the data, and I can see how many people have clicked through to your website, how many people like you, how many people favor you, how many people are watching you, I can see the traffic going on. I can tell you before we launch that house whether we're on the money or not. And I'll give you a great example of it. We had one the other day that we put on for $750 or coming soon for $750, and nobody came to look at it. Nobody opened it. There was 22 clients actually viewed it. Well, we're used to 200, 300, 400, or 500 clients looking at it, not 22. So we knew early we had a problem. Nobody's online looking at it, so we had to go back to the seller and say, we are not on the buyer pool. We are clearly not on the buyer pool. So we moved it to 725. And what do you know? We had 241 people view that client's house. So it went from 22 to 241, and we knew it before we launched the house. So that is critical. Knowing whether you're on the number or not. You know, I have a seller, his house is worth 1.195. He thinks it's in the 1.2s. Fine. Put on 1.225. We'll do it coming soon. Let me see if anybody's going to look at it. If nobody looks at it, we're not in the buyer pool. I can guarantee you we're not in the buyer pool. But this kind of target marketing in the coming soon period, this kind of analytics, I could whip on a Zoom to a seller, and we're looking at data and analyzing data, and it takes us 10 minutes to know whether we're on the number or not on the number. In 10 minutes, I can tell you whether we're going to have contracts and how many. And that's very valuable, because when a contract comes in, I need to know, are there more contracts coming? I just need to know. So this is the predictive analysis is extremely powerful and is tough to communicate to a seller unless you can put him on a Zoom presentation and walk him through the numbers that you're looking at. So we're really looking, I mean, I know this is just a Facebook Live. You're really looking at the future of real estate and how this whole thing is going to work from now on. Now, some may be slow to get on, some may be fast, but I'm going to tell you that the dynamics shift in real estate has begun. Mike Filan is a lender. Mike Filan goes over documents with people all the time. What easier way to get a client on the phone or get him on Zoom and go over documents just like this. Go over their options. I mean, a seller can sit here and again, I don't know how this looks on Facebook, but they're sitting on their computer and they're looking at the documents right in front of their face, and we're going over them live. So this is, you know.
Also, Casey, when contracts start to come in and we have multiple contracts, we can bring up our multiple contract spreadsheet, go over it with them, bring up a contract, go over the terms. So that's also huge. Also, you know, once we select a contract, when an inspection comes in, if a seller doesn't, you know what's going on, we can go over the inspection items with them. On the buyer side, if I'm working with a first-time home buyer and they don't really understand the contract, instead of me having to go over with them in person and go over it, you know, we can get on a Zoom call and I can bring up the residential sales contract and go over it, you know, line by line. So, like you said, I mean, it's a new day, or not a new day, but it's, you know, we're looking at a new age.
It is a new day. It's the next generation, Billy, because, and I'll throw another one at you. We do a lot of clients that are older clients, you know, they're selling their house, they're moving on. They may or may not, but they have kids and siblings, not siblings, but they have kids or financial planners or somebody else that is involved with their decision-making process. Well, I could bring in people from New England, Dallas, and Ireland into the same Zoom presentation and give a listing presentation to every one of the heirs or every one of the kids. So to gather
with everybody being, sorry, I was just going to say, with everybody being able to see exactly what you're talking about, there's no confusion, it's clear and concise, and you can get everybody together so quickly. It's just amazing.
And Mike, it's recorded.
Yeah, you can send it.
I just hit press send. So the bottom line is, you know, if you want to do a listing presentation, one of the spouses can be in DC, the other spouse can be in Arlington. We don't really care. So what does that mean for us? It opens up my ability to do this 4 times a day, 5 times a day in a very civilized way. So I'm not running around like a chicken with my head cut off. Now, you know, it's better for the sellers because they can interview more realtors. It's better for us as realtors because we can meet with more sellers. And what that means is, and I'll get down to that here, you know, at Samson Properties, we have 3,000 agents. Well, some of them come to me and say, look, I don't know what to do with this. I can't price it. It's maybe not my price range, or I don't know much about this market, or can you help me with the pricing? You know, normally the answer is, it's hard for me to help you. I just don't have the time. But now we partner with Samson agents where they can send us a listing. We do all the customary pricing models and all of that, can actually do all the marketing, launch the listings, know the predictive analysis, and then the agent can then take over on the back end, handle the sales and the contracts and the inspections, and we can partner up with the Samson agents. So it's a huge opportunity for Samson agents to be able to now have the full power of the pricing model that, you know, has a track record, $200 million wide, and you know, the you know, the marketing material that we do, the predictive analysis that we do. So it's not hard now to partner up with other agents and help them, which help their sellers, which may not have had that help. I mean, and I want to just remind everybody, and then I'm going to get off the air. To take your house and prepare your house and put it on the market and not have it sell is very, very disturbing. And it's very demoralizing. I have seen people that are close to the end of their life spend their last 6 months fighting over selling their house. And I think that you need to be very careful when you sell real estate. It needs to be priced where it should, it needs to be marketed where it should. You need to listen to your professionals. You need to let them handle it. Because if you don't, it's not going to end well. And I think that communicating what people need to do on this new platform is an absolute game changer. I thank Morgan every day for it. I thank Michelle every day for it. You know, the Casey Samson team is not Casey Samson. It is Billy Samson and him coming in working with the pricing models, and Morgan Samson pushing me, and Kelly Samson with all her practicality. And she knows where to buy everything and get everything. You know, it's Pat's experience, it's Pam's experience. Colby is smarter than can be, a professional realtor. So it's really just a combination of everybody bringing something to the table. And that's where you get something like this presentation we just had. Now, we're probably going to find out that this never went out on Facebook and nobody's ever heard this. And this was just a practice run. Huh?
It is. I was looking at our comments earlier.
Oh, okay. So I hope this did go out on Facebook. We will post this on YouTube, I hope. It's very, very powerful what's happening, but this is something that people need to know. So, Billy, do you have any closing statements on any of this before I kick off?
No, just, you know, just try to be safe. And if you're going to go out, you know, practice the social distancing. Happy Holy Week and Passover to everyone and their religions. And yeah, just a thank you to everyone. And we're going to get through this together. You know, we're all in this together, and the only way we're going to get through it is by you know, coming together as a community and just, you know, doing what we can to be safe.
And let's take care of the first responders. And Billy, you said it the other day eloquently, and I think that, you know, we're not at war. I'm not at war. I'm home. But the people in the
nurses and EMTs and
their lives are,
you know,
people driving buses, people picking up garbage, people working that have to work, that are in essential jobs, that actually meet with other people, bus drivers, you know, people like that. They're all frontliners. So really a tip of the hat to them, but it's very impressive what everybody's watching right now with all this, the market the way it is, and walking down to Vienna and seeing nobody, you know, people are walking, but they're not going to get close to you. So I feel like I'm in an episode of Andy of Mayberry, to be honest with you, that everything is slowing down a little bit. So Mike, do you have any closings?
Yeah, I agree with you. I just want to say thank you to everybody that you had mentioned, you know, the grocery store workers, all the people that are just keeping everything going and doing their best to keep us safe. Billy did a great job saying, you know, we'll get through this as a community. So thank you very much.
Hey man, from the 1%ers, now I look at 1%ers a little bit different. We just we think 1% because we like to win. We like to be on top. So we don't coddle to that 50% stuff. So anyways, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I hope you got something out of this. The real estate market is changing. It's a next generation stuff. It is for the better for the buyers. It's better for the sellers. It's a safer environment. So let's get through this together and come out the back end, and we'll all be just fine. Thanks for listening to Coffee with Casey. My name is Casey Samson. You can catch me at caseysamson.com. You can catch Billy at
WP Samson or Billy at caseysamson.com, 703-380-0255. Drop me a text if you need me.
Can you say that a little slower?
Sorry, I talk fast. Yeah, my cell is 703-380-0255 if you need me.
And Mike Filan is our lender. We trust him with all our buyers and the business we do. So if you're a realtor and you need a good lender to stand by your side, Mike Filan is it. Anybody's doing refinancing or looking for a lender out there, Mike, can you go ahead and give us your contact information?
Absolutely. It's Mike at MikeFilanMortgage.com, or you can certainly find me on Casey's website in the lenders or mortgage info tab.
He's like a rash all over our website. I want to thank Michelle, who has done a masterful job transitioning our team to Zoom, and Morgan for pushing me, my little keister, out and forcing me kicking and screaming to do this. So thank you very much. I want to thank Julie for all the work she's doing. Just, again, in a time like this, to be surrounded by professionals, it's really, really wonderful. And Ethan, thank you very much, buddy, for Samson Marketing, getting us online, bringing this information like we need to do. And next time, maybe we can get this sucker a little smoother on the kickoff. But hey, it's a first run, so we'll see what we can do. Signing off is Casey Samson at Coffee with Casey from CaseySamson.com. Thanks.